Well, hello everybody. We're going to get started in this What's for Dinner video with 2 ways that I used a rotisserie chicken. I was at Costco. I had been grocery shopping that day and that was my last stop, and I picked up a rotisserie chicken. Now, most of you know, if you go to Costco or have heard of Costco, they have $4.99 rotisserie chickens, and believe it or not, inflation has not struck on those rotisserie chickens as of a couple weeks ago. So not only that, they are big. They're very big rotisserie chickens, so you get a lot of bang for your buck there. So we love rotisserie chicken. We love to just eat it, just slice it off and eat it, or cut off the leg, cut off the wing, the breast, and whatever, and just eat that plain. We love it. But there are also so many things you can do with the rotisserie chicken. None of this is rocket science. I'm just going to show you what I chose to do with mine. The first one is a really simple, quick, and easy one, and so is the second one, but the second one is a Southern staple chicken and dumplings, so you want to be sure and stay tuned. After we get through with this first little portion here, I'm going to show you the chicken and dumplings. All right, here we go. All right, so you saw me slicing through this. Wasn't that so beautiful? It was so juicy and delicious. In fact, I'd say it's the best tasting rotisserie I have ever had. And so I ate mine. I'm going to show you how I ate mine. James had his just as the chicken. He just sliced off the pieces that he wanted, the leg, the thigh, and he ate it just like that. Here's what I did with mine. I decided I was in a little bit of a Mexican mood, so I got out the chili powder after I got my fresh sliced chicken into the pan here, seasoned it with a bit of chili powder, and then I went in with this Kinder's The Blend, which is salt, pepper, and garlic. I sprinkled just a little bit of each of those on there. I did leave the skin in with that chicken because that has so much flavor. I added this green Tabasco. I don't like Tabasco, but the green one is the bomb. And so I just sauteed this around, and then I just pull the skin out at the end, but that has so much flavor. I wanted that to fry up with these slices of chicken that I have here in my skillet. After my chicken was heated through, I just went in with my 2 tortillas, laid that right on top of the chicken, turned down the heat just a little bit, and I'm gonna let those just sit there on top to get soft and steam until I'm ready to build my soft tacos. Okay. These are all nice and steamy. The smell is amazing. I'm gonna lay this to the side. I've got my plate here. And I'm just gonna put some of this chicken in. Okay, there's my plate. There's my 2 tortillas with the chicken. Now let's move over to the counter and I'll put some stuff on these. All right, after I got these all doctored up with some toppings that I love, I forgot my sour cream till here at the last, but I remembered and got that on there. And then I just decided to also use something I had purchased at Costco that very same trip, and that was the white, the queso. It's kind of a bigger plastic container. I had never purchased that before. I think it's about $7 or so, so definitely very price effective for a white queso type of cheese dip. It was really good. I just heated that up in the microwave, put it over my chips, and let me tell you, this was better than takeout at, a Mexican place. It was so good. The flavor on that rotisserie chicken, I can't say enough about how really tasty it was. So that was my super quick and easy dinner. And again, like I said, a $4.99 rotisserie chicken. It stretched so far. We had not just the 2 meals I'm showing you. We had lunch out of that. It just stretched for a long way. It was so good. Now I'm going to show you the chicken and dumplings that I made using what was left of this rotisserie chicken. You can see here that we've definitely used a good portion of it, but there's still a lot left. So I'm going to go in and remove off all the chicken that I want to use in my dumplings, and then I'm going to use what's left here, the skin, the bones, the carcass. All that is going to go in my kettle. I'm going to fill it up with water and add some things to it. and make a homemade broth, and that's what we're going to use to cook these dumplings in. So there's all the chicken that I've pulled off that I'm going to use as far as the meat portion. We're going to get the rest of this going to make some delicious broth. All right, I got all that good stuff that was left in the bottom also in here. I filled up the pot with water, and I'm adding in some of the Kinder's, the blend, which is salt, pepper, and garlic. I had some diced onion already in my refrigerator, and I pulled this frozen celery out from my freezer. I'm just putting the whole thing in there. You can put in other things, bay leaf, you can put in carrots, whatever you have, like root vegetable wise, makes a great addition when you are making some homemade broth. So I'm just going to let this simmer low and slow, get all of the chicken off the bones, get rid of all of the bones, the skin, etc., and that's going to make a great broth. Here's the recipe I always use for dumplings. If you want to screenshot that, you can, or pause it and jot that down. This is a friend of mine. It's her cookbook that she put out with her recipes in it. So I used that dumpling recipe. Now this time around, I was out of Crisco, so I used butter in place of that. I've done that a couple times before, and that works out just fine. I used about 6 tablespoons of butter. I just put that down in the flour and get it kind of coated around with the flour. It doesn't melt as quickly that way, and slice that all up, and that's what I used in place of this Crisco, and it worked out just great. Making homemade dumplings really does remind me of making homemade biscuits. Got a lot of the same qualities there, same things that happen. All right, I'm adding an egg this time. I never add an egg to my dumplings, but my mother-in-law makes really, really great ones. She always adds an egg. She said it really kind of gives it more of a chewy texture and consistency, I believe is what she said. So we're going to give that a try this time around, and then we're just going to use milk to bind it all together. And you want it to be not too thick, not too thin. It's kind of a hard way to explain and gauge, but you want it to kind of slide off of your spoon, but not just run off, if that makes sense. I use a cookie scoop when I go to put mine in the boiling water, or the boiling broth rather, but regardless, you want it to be able to kind of come off of there pretty easy, but still have some thickness to it. All right, and like I said, my preferred method is to use this little cookie scoop. It just releases that dough right down into that boiling broth, and you just want to put it in there. Just pile them in one at a time. I kind of move it around to where, I see that there's not a dumpling. What they'll do is they'll sink down and they'll pop right back up. And then after it gets full, then you just start looking for little pockets of the rolling broth there. And that's usually where you can plop a dumpling down in there. I'm going to show you here in a second, once my pot gets real full, how we keep on adding to it. All right, you'd think that that was done, but it's not. And I usually most always make a double batch of these because they're delicious as leftovers, and why not? I mean, it's simple ingredients. It's just as easy to stir up a double batch as it is to make one. This time around, I shared with one of my sons. We ate multiple times out of this. We had grandkids here and they ate out of it, so it worked always, it really does, to make a double batch. So as you can see there, I just kind of took my spoon and very gently pushed around on the top of it. Make sure everything's had a chance to be fully submerged in that broth, and then I just start looking for those little pockets again of where you can see there's a little hole there. Just plop the dumpling down in there, and like I said, if you need to gently kind of stir or push things around, you can. It's not the end of the world if they break up, but if you kind of do it gently, they'll stay together and you can just kind of move things around. And yes, I was at the tip top of the amount of space that I had. I had some little boil over places to clean up on my stove, which is not a bad problem to have. That delicious broth and dumplings, it just filled this pot to the brim. This was, and always is, so, so good and very, very easy to make. After everything was pretty much done, I reduced the heat, put my lid on, and they just kind of sat there keeping warm. Of course, I had added in all of that chicken, and you'll see that here in a minute as I stir it around. So I'm just kind of moving these around here. It's almost time for dinner. Just giving these a stir. Look how delicious, you guys. I also really like having dark and white meat in dumplings. It isn't always that way. Sometimes I just have, chicken breast maybe, but I love having that dark and white in there because that's the way I always had any type of chicken and noodle or chicken and dumplings. Growing up, it always had some of the dark and the white, which gives it such great flavor. And if you can do your meat from your chicken from bone on, the flavor that it gives it is so, so good. So cook it with the bones, makes it so much better. I did some carrots. I did my little crinkle chopper from Pampered Chef. I did some mashed potatoes, and we had some leftover green beans from the night before. And this was just a delicious country meal and such an easy way using that rotisserie chicken. So I wanted to be sure and point that out here to you, how easy that was. All right, you guys, tonight's dinner is pretty special, and it's all because of this jar of home canned green beans. Look how good they look. So beautiful. And what is so special about these are from my husband's grandparents' garden. And they are both passed away within the last 2 years, for his grandpa and his grandma just in the fall of last year. And so James said, I would like to have a couple jars of Grandpa's canned green beans if there's any way. And so James' mom, my sweet mother-in-law, brought him a few jars. And so these are really special. And I almost hate to even open them, but James wants a jar of those for dinner tonight. So I'm going to crack these open. I want to show you the top. So special. Look at that. 725 of 18. Just so special to have these. And the handwriting on there is just all real special and very appreciated here. We loved them dearly and miss them so much. So this is what's going to be our dinner tonight, and I'll show you the rest as we get going. All right, and I've just cut my sausage into medallions. You see that there? And I'm going to put some onion in there and let it fry up together for just a few minutes. All right, now I'm going to just put in a little bit of a diced onion. And I don't mind leaving my onion, can't touch that because it's hot already, pretty big for green beans. Onion is one of my very favorite foods of all time. I love onion. All right. I might have got my pan a little bit too hot. All right, so I'm going to show you what we're looking for. We're looking for this. You see that? I like to get a little brown on there. It gives it such good flavor. Just kind of depth of flavor, I think. Straighten that back up there. All right, maybe one more minute, and then we're going to throw in the green beans. All right, and in go the green beans. They smell delicious. Here we go. These look wonderful. Look at that. Let's stir this together. And I think I'm going to put just a little bit of garlic. Probably some garlic powder, I think. A little bit of black pepper. I'm going to turn up my heat. And then I'm going to let these cook for just a little bit. If I want them to cook longer, I'll add a little bit more water. Maybe a little bit of chicken, dry chicken base. We'll see. But right now I'm going to get them going just like they are and let them start cooking. You guys, I forgot that fast that I was going to put potatoes in here. So here's 2 of the gold potatoes diced up in there. Of course, I need to add some more water so that can start cooking the potatoes. Wasn't quite enough liquid in there for that, and I forgot that quick. So I added about 2 cups of water. I added in my garlic powder and my black pepper, and we're going to get this cooking. Now, I also grew up with a dad that gardened, so oftentimes when it was green bean time, picking and stringing and breaking and canning, all that, a lot of times Mom would just cook up a big kettle of fresh green beans, and we would just have a bologna sandwich to go along with it on those busy days when we were, working in garden food. I was, helping in my own small way when I was a kid, of course, but so that's what I made. And, green beans, smoked sausage, and new potatoes, dug straight out of the garden. That was just fine dining, is exactly what that was. And so I'm sure if you grew up with a garden, or if you have a garden now, green beans, smoked sausage, and potatoes is a meal that you've had before. So this is nothing new. I'm not showing you anything new, but I just wanted to share with you this very special jar of green beans that we had that made such a delicious meal with the smoked sausage, the potatoes, and just a good old bologna sandwich on the side. Made me think about my childhood for sure, and it was so delicious to boot, so it was a win-win. And the last meal I'm going to show you for this video is some Pioneer Woman Sloppy Joes. Now, I've made this on my channel plenty of times, and pretty much probably everyone else has too. No, not everyone uses this recipe, but a lot of people do, and it's because it is really, really so good. I really don't even measure anymore. I've been using this one a couple of years now, and so I just kind of know what what the recipe calls for. And if you don't have the exact ingredients, like I didn't have chili powder, so I use this chipotle chili pepper. You can kind of modify a little bit as long as you have the key ingredients for it. It is so easy to pull together. I still love manwich. That's what I always made for Sloppy Joes, but since I started making this, I just kind of stick with it because it is really, really a good recipe, and I pretty much have all the ingredients all the time. So I just pulled together this Sloppy Joe mix. It doesn't take any time at all, and the flavor of it is so, so good. So that's what I'm pulling together here. Quick and easy. Also, a good meal that doesn't cost a whole lot, doesn't break the bank. So that's always good, especially with the rising costs of food right now. So this is one that you can make without it costing a whole lot. Super filling and delicious. Remember to always look below for any links to recipes or any recipes that I've shared. I'll definitely share a link to this one. We even pulled out the fine china. When you have a meal like this, you definitely want to get out the fine china. How I like to eat my Sloppy Joes, there's just a little bit of mustard on there, and I like a slice of American cheese. That is just a perfect way, for me at least, to eat my Sloppy Joe. And then I served it with some of these Claussen spicy dill pickle slices on the side. They are really, really good. They do have a little bit of spice to them. And then tater tots. I think tater tots go absolutely perfect with Sloppy Joes. I did those in my air fryer. This is to the end, you guys. I hope you have enjoyed seeing these meals. I hope you get some ideas for some things that don't cost an arm and a leg. These were all very budget-friendly meals and were pretty easy to pull together to boot. Thank you always for watching. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you've not, and I'll see you guys in the next one.